Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, folks of all stripes, and distinguished guests, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston sports podcast for diehard Houston sports fans. From a diehard Houston sports fan, I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite diehard Astros fan podcaster. Feel free to add as many additional qualifiers to that statement to make it true. I'm an actor, improviser, writer, creative multi-hyphenate, and of course, and most importantly, I'm a proud Houston native, and I have the receipts to prove it. You know, people don't know this, but I'm the jester they named TC Jester after. Last podcast, I said that stands for that crazy jester, and I haven't punched up that joke. I've spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer here in Los Angeles, and now, I'm podcasting. That's what happens when you hit 10 years out here. You start absent-mindedly calling it the 10 instead of I-10. And you start podcasting. Welcome to said podcast. Space Cadet Sports started as a passion project because most media is infuriating. As a diehard long-term fan of the Houston Astros and your other Houston sports teams, here we aren't doom and gloom casual fans, or worse, the national media haters. We love our teams and root them on, but also try to discuss the ins and outs of them without too much homerism. The key word here, of course, is try. On today's episode, it's time to look at the upcoming NFL week and try to deduce the winners. That's right, it's time for Paul's Picks DEDUCE. Folks, I'd like to welcome returning listeners and welcome new listeners to what my brothers call the Paul Broadpod Ball Blog. Hey, brothers. Shout out to my brothers. Shout out to Arrested Development fans. And, of course, shout out to the subscribers on the Substacks. My subs. Check out spacecadetsports.substack.com to become a sub yourself. You could find the full blog experience on that website, or the full blog experience, depending on your interpretation of my mumbles. We're recording this transmission here in sunny Los Angeles. It's been a little foggy lately, but the sun's still out right now, where I'm joined, as always, by my co-host and co-producer, the Roz to my Frasier, Carla, the dog, is here with me. She is panting heavily right next to me. Longtime listeners of the podcast know that she may get on mic from time to time. She's got the hot takes on this podcast. I've got the cool takes. You know, in a world of ridiculous sports podcasters, emotional overreactions, hot takes, and dudes yelling their opinions as if it's fact, I'm at least honest with you. I'm a dude yelling my opinion, and it's just an opinion. You know, I'm at least honest that I tell you I'm ridiculous. You know, I try to take the long view on this podcast. I try to remember that we've elected to be fans and that there are bigger dragons in this world to fight. You know, why torture ourselves by letting these sports bros rile up our emotions? We try to be reasonable here. To an extent. You know, I'm still a trash-talking clown and get in my emotions just like anyone else. I just at least have the humility to admit it off the top. I'm an entertainer. I'm a diehard. I'm a clown. So be warned. Let's get to it here, folks. Good day, mates, to all my listeners. Let's get to Paul's picks. You've heard of Jimmy the Greek. Well, I'm Paulie the Geek. Let's look at NFL week. What are we at now? Week 15? Oh, great. I closed out all of my notes for the podcast before recording. That's, you want to be prepared before you podcast, folks, and I'm an improviser. I like to be light on my feet. I don't like notes. I like to just riff. But it's NFL Week 16. I'm pulling up some notes here, folks. I'm not gonna go acrobat style with no net here. Let's get to it. Thursday night, starting in wee minutes here as of the recording of this podcast. I don't know, we're probably closer to like an hour away from the game, but probably minutes away when I'm actually done recording. And but why lie? I'm not editing this thing. I just record it and send it out there. The Thursday night game is about to start. We have a good one. If you're a football fan, or if you're in LA like I am, the Los Angeles Rams are taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Both of these teams are 11-3 going into this Thursday night showdown. This this is a playoff potential showdown. I think a lot of people are having trouble picking this game. I even had my fiance, that's right, I'm bragging on this podcast. I had Sarah texted me and just like not even an hour ago asking me my take on this game. She couldn't wait for the podcast. She didn't want to wait. She had to get the exclusive content. That's what happens when you're in a relationship with me. You do get exclusive content. You might be able to get that behind the paywall at some point going forward when I'm desperate. And but for now, that was a Sarah special. And look, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going with the Rams here. Why am I going with the Rams? I don't know, because I have to pick one of the two teams. No, truthfully, it's because I trust the Rams more. I trust them overall more than I trust the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks running game and offense has been a little touch and go at times. And, I'm not trying to throw shade. Look, I'm a Texans fan, But overall, of these two teams, the one that I find the most consistent is the LA Rams. They are the away team in this game. The Seattle Seahawks are favored. Looking at the lines here, the Seahawks are favored -1.5. The over-under in this game is 38. I'm sorry. The over-under in this game is 42.5. That's what happens when you don't have notes. Yikes. I'm going to have to make sure I'm ready to go here. Not just making up numbers. I think it's just that simple. I trust both sides of the ball for the Rams. I trust the coaching more than the Seahawks. These are both two really good teams. These are two teams that might have some deep playoff runs and meet each other, for the NFC showdown. It really could be. But look, I got to pick a game. I'm sorry, I got to pick a team, and I can't take that many minutes talking about it because this is a Texans podcast more than anything else. I got to be able to save some minutes for my Texans and all other 15 NFL games that are being played today. But let me know who you're picking in this game. I'm going with the Rams. I trust them more. Those are my 2 cents, if you will. I know they discontinued pennies, but that's not going to discontinue my 2 cents. Oh, folks, we got the jokes here on the podcast. I am primed and ready to go. If you're looking for mediocre comedy and terrible NFL picks, you've come to the right place. Folks, let's move on to the next game here. The next game we're talking about is your Houston Texans playing their Sunday game against the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are 2-12 going into this game. Your Houston Texans are on a streak, 6-game winning streak. They're now 9-5 on the season. Let's look at the spread. Let's look at the lines here. And before we completely do, I always have to give a disclaimer. I'd say short disclaimer, but I ramble on about everything. I mean, why pretend otherwise? But, folks, gambling's bad, okay? Look, sports gambling, fantasy sports, pigskin pick'em, stuff like this. I love these things. Sports gambling, to a much lesser extent, but just to the point that pigskin pick'em and fantasy sports is sports gambling. These are things I enjoy. However, these are things that also are kind of ruining the sport in a way. Just remember, and ruining people's lives. Let's be honest, that's why there's so many strict laws around gambling, folks. It's not good. It's a dragon you chase thinking you can make a lot of money. Don't ever bet money that you're just not okay with completely giving away. There's no get rich schemes really in life. Don't fall for it. But, Also, don't be a person that's going out there yelling at folks, being angry at professional players because you lost a bet. Don't bet. Have fun. So with that being said, be careful with gambling. There's your lecture from your uncle, from Theo Paul, telling you not to gamble all your money away. And here is a bunch of picks for you. But your Houston Texans are playing the Raiders, and we are obviously feeling pretty happy over here on the podcast. We've got jokes. We're not too worried right now. The Texans have making fans feel like they could breathe a little easier after shellacking of the Arizona Cardinals. The Las Vegas Raiders, sadly, are not a team that we're too worried about. Now, I say that, and I hope that the Houston Texans coaching staff and the Houston Texans players are very worried about them. If not about the other side of the ball, who's their competition, I'm trying to say, at least for their individual performances, getting better, becoming more consistent. We're on a winning streak. We just got off of playing the Arizona Cardinals, but in a way, the Houston Texans are still looking at this as a get-right game. Their offense has been, we talked about the Seattle Seahawks offense being hit and touch and go. And the Texans have been that way too. It's been an inconsistent season for the Houston Texans offense. It's looking like they're starting to get some consistency behind some offensive line play that is more consistent, behind C.J. Stroud being able to be healthy and spreading the ball around. However, last week was the first 100-yard rushing performance from a Houston Texans running back, with Jahar Johnson, rookie, signed off the practice squad, coming in and having a great day. We're hoping that this team could still run the ball against another weak defense for sure. No disrespect to the Raiders, but we're hoping that they could still find some offensive success against this team. It's like a get right game, but at the same time, if they don't respect the Raiders, it can be a tough one. But after seeing the Texans play the Cardinals, I don't think head coach D'Amico Miles is going to allow that type of mentality for the Texans going into this game. I think they're going to be prepared. I'm saying that they're putting up another 40 points. We'll see what the Raiders are able to do, but I'm calling the Houston Texans win this game. They win it decidedly, and the Texans continue to march forward to the playoffs. But, I do say that, not trying to completely disrespect the other team. It's just the Raiders are having a really, really terrible season, losing their offensive coordinator. The team seems to be spiraling a little bit here. But any given Sunday, Al Pacino, any team can win any given Sunday, folks. The Texans will have to show up to this game ready to play their best ball, and I think they're going to be up for it. I'm not too worried. With that being said, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back on the other side with more Paul's Picks.
H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Salazar Jr., and we are talking about NFL games this upcoming week, and I am picking them. And for the sake of comedy, look, folks, I've talked about how I'm a comedian. I've talked about how we shouldn't be gambling. I've talked and talked. That's what I do on the podcast. Look, if you came here and you were hoping that I'm not talking, you came to the wrong place. This is where I'm allowed to talk. I'm going to listen to this podcast, and I hope the host doesn't talk too much. I really hope. Look, folks, we're talking about hopefully some good picks here. We'll get to how I've done this season at the end of the podcast. But it's been a tough season for me with these picks, and that's why it's comedy, okay? Not advice, all right? My girlfriend texted me to ask me who I thought would win tonight's game because she wanted to laugh, okay? Moving on to the games this Sunday, we have Philadelphia at Washington. The Eagles are 9-5. The Commanders are 4-10. The Eagles are favored in this game. The Commanders are +7 at home. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, folks. I tried to take a healthy sip of coffee before recording. The coffee was cold. I didn't drink that much. I'll get some more if I have to take another break. Hopefully not. The Washington Commanders are 4-10 on the season. It has not looked to be good. Jaden Daniels is being shut down, and his quote is, "It's been a frustrating year. It's been a really frustrating year for Jaden Daniels, the Commanders, and Commanders fans, and I think it's going to be another frustrating day. I'm picking the Eagles to win this game." And moving on. Next game we have here is the Green Bay Packers against the Chicago Bears. The Green Bay Packers are favored on the road here. The Bears getting the disrespectful +1 home line. The over-under is 46.5. It's okay, Carla. Come sit with me. Come here. It's okay. The Packers are 9-4-1 on the season, but Micah Parsons is shut down for the year as well. I'm sorry, Micah Parsons. I'm looking at the right thing. See, this is what happens when my notes are all befuddled. Now I'm befuddled. My notes can't be. I'm the one that's befuddled. My notes are askew. Look, I'm learning the English language as we're recording this podcast. The Bears are who I'm going with in this game. I like what they've been doing this season. I know they're kind of an upstart team. I don't completely trust them. I trust the Packers a little bit more. But at home against the rival, with the Green Bay Packers trying to figure out a way to get some pass rush without Micah Parsons, I'm feeling spicy. I'm going with the Bears here. Look, last week, I had some spicy picks. I trusted my gut. I did well. I won 13 picks last week, so we're going to listen to my gut a little more this week. We're going to go with the Bears, and I hope I don't have IBS, and I can trust my gut. Look, folks, you come to this podcast so you could hear about my GI problems, right? Look, I don't have GI problems. Look, I'm not trying to have stolen valor from people that have legit issues. Look, I just have, regular GI issues from a person that eats a lot of spicy food. Moving on, before we get completely into my health, we have the Buffalo Bills playing the Cleveland Browns. The Browns have had a tough season. They're 3-11. The Bills are 10-4. The Bills are favored in this game by 10.5 points. The over/under is 41.5. And yeah, I feel it. I don't think the Browns are gonna compete much in this game. We're choosing the Bills and moving on to the next one. The LA Chargers are playing the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. Dallas is favored in this game, -2.5. The over/under is 49.5. And look, I get it. I don't trust this Chargers team. They're 10-4, but it doesn't feel like they're 10-4. Even though I've picked them to win a lot of games this season, it still doesn't feel like that's their record. It seems like they would have a record closer to Dallas, who's 6-7-1. It feels like the smart pick is to go with Dallas. It's like, but it's not that much smarter than picking the Chargers, I feel like. But maybe that's just the hater in me. I don't know. Could be. Out of all the teams that I irrationally hate, the Cowboys is that one. Cowboys, I'll just get mad at for no reason. It seems like that irrational hate team. But I do think that that we're a little more down on the Chargers than we should be, at least in comparison to how the Cowboys have been playing football. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's just a hater in me. Like I'm saying, I am. I'm literally having to look at my notes. I'm picking the Chargers. I'm going with what I wrote down in my notes. Moving on, we have the Chiefs at the Cowboys. The Chiefs are 6-8, eliminated from playoff contention. The Titans are 2-12, and they're also, eliminated from playoff contention. It goes without saying, but I like to, pile on the Titans whenever I can. I almost called them the Rags because I like piling on the Rangers, but that those are my teams. Irrationally hate Rangers, Titans, Cowboys, I guess. The list goes on. Look, who am I kidding? The Chiefs are struggling, obviously. Patrick Mahomes is out for the season. We have Rasheed Rice, who's now has concussion symptoms. He's in the concussion protocol. The Chiefs have Gardner Minshew as their quarterback, and it is a tough time for Chiefs fans. However, they're still favored in this game. The Titans are +3 at home. The over-under is 37.5, and I have to go with consensus. I don't see how the Titans win this game. So at least there's a little something for you, a little win for the Chiefs fans, a little too late for your playoff hopes, but at least there's a little playing for pride there for Chiefs fans. Moving on to the next game, we have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Miami Dolphins. The Bengals have been bingling their whole season away. They're 4-10. The Dolphins have been trying to prove that they are not a dumpster fire. They're 6-8, but they are now benching Tua Tagovailoa and starting rookie Quinn Ewers. I'm sorry. See, this is why I need my notes. I try to write pronunciation guides down for my mumble mouth, and now I'm just disrespecting grown men. Apologies if I'm getting that name wrong. Look, the Bengals, the Miami is +4 here at home. The over-under is 47.5. They're starting a rookie over Tua. And, I just got to say, where my dogs at? A boy picks 3 dogs last week, and all of a sudden, I'm Paulie the Geek again. Look, I'm feeling Miami in this game. I don't know why. I guess it's because I don't trust the Bengals ever. They've had a terrible season. Miami's played a lot spicier. People are playing for their jobs. People are coaching for their jobs. And honestly, they could have gone with a veteran backup quarterback benching Tua, but they're going with a rookie. I feel like there's something special about this guy, and I can be completely wrong. I have no scouting. I don't know the man's game. I'm not that familiar. But what I'm trying to say is that if they're benching Tua, if they're all playing for their jobs and their lives, I feel like this quarterback might have a little something that just the league hasn't seen yet, and that might be just enough to beat the terrible Bengals defense. I'm feeling spicy. I feel like this could be, kind of like when in baseball, when there's an unknown rookie pitcher and he takes the mound and there's just not a lot of tape on him. So sometimes that first outing could go very well. Not all the time. You got to have the stuff to do that. But, I'm saying maybe that's the football, the baseball metaphor for this football game. And that's why I'm going with the Dolphins here. I'm not saying that this guy is the new Drake May or anything like that. I'm just saying, I think this could be a spicy game for the Dolphins, who are playing for a little bit more pride than the Bengals are at this time. Moving on to the next game, we have the New York Jets against the New Orleans Saints. The Jets are 3-11. The Saints are 4-10. While there's a great Thursday night game that everybody's looking forward to watching, this game is not going to be as watched or beloved by football fans as much as the Thursday night game. That's to say the least. The New Orleans Saints are favored here at home by 5.5. The over-under is 40.5. And, this might be a miserable game to watch. Look, John Mechie is going to be in this game, right? I guess there's that. But yeah, I think we're going to just go with the Saints. They are slightly the better team, sadly. All respect to Aaron Glenn, and we're just going to move on. Next game is a Minnesota Vikings against the New York Giants. The Giants are home dogs here, +3 at home, 43.5 is the over-under. And yeah, we're going with Minnesota here. I do think that this can be a spicy game for the Giants for sure. But I think Minnesota is a bit better of a team than their record suggests. I've been kind of on the Minnesota Vikings bandwagon the last couple seasons in my picks. Didn't really work out for me well this season, but I'm still picking them here at least against the Giants. Folks, we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be right back after I try to drink some coffee from my scratchy throat.
H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
Guess who's back? Back again. That's right, it's your boy, Paul Salazar Jr., host of the Space Cadet Sports podcast. And we've got Paul's picks going strong still. I said I'd get a drink of coffee, and I didn't. I didn't even sip it. Let's hope I can power through here. Folks, we have more picks for your NFL week. And the next game we're talking about is Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Carolina Panthers. You know, kind of the bargain bin matchup of the week. You know, both of these teams are 7-7. The NFC South is on the line here. The Panthers are home dogs, +3 in this game. 45.5 is the over/under. And, you know, I think I was reading this somewhere. I had it in my notes. See, this is why you have notes, Paul. But, you know, something like the Carolina Panthers have just been a tough bet all season long. They are just, you know, they're kind of Cincinnati Bengaling it. You just don't know what to expect out of them. They're losing people bets left and right all season. So for that reason, it's like, should we be spicy and just pick the Panthers, even though the easy pick is the Buccaneers should win this game? But, you know, 3 isn't the biggest spread. I don't think anybody's feeling that strongly about either one of these teams taking over and just kind of taking over the division in this game. But I think out of the two, obviously I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. But I just don't trust the Panthers in the way I don't trust the Bengals, where I don't trust them to win games, but I also at times don't trust them to lose games. It's like, you should have lost that game. How and why did you win that? Carla obviously agrees. It's okay, Carla. Come sit with me. The next game here we have is the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Denver Broncos, a good AFC potential playoff matchup even. I mean, potential. I'm not trying to say the Jags are making it. Obviously, I want the Texans to win that division, but we're looking at a potential playoff matchup, even though, the Denver Broncos have been, kind of earning a lot more respect as of late, with quarterback Bo Nix playing a lot better than he had in the beginning of his season here. So I'm not going to disparage the Broncos too much. But obviously the Jaguars are still trying to shake a bit of those allegations as well in this game. Can both of these teams shake some allegations? I don't know. The Broncos are favored at home by 3 points. The over-under is 46.5. And I'm not just being a hater here. I do think the Broncos are, it might be a slight tier ahead of the Jaguars, but they're a tier ahead of the Jaguars, and that's why I'm going with the Denver Broncos here at home. The next game we have is the Atlanta Falcons against the Arizona Cardinals. And both of these teams, I think, had higher hopes this season. At least I thought that they potentially could do better than these middling records, but the Falcons are 5-9. The Cardinals are 3-11. And the Cardinals are the home dogs here, +3, and the over-under is 48.5. Falcons receiver Drake London looks like is trending towards playing, which, look, folks, I don't know how to interpret that. I can interpret that as well as you can interpret that. He's trending towards playing. I don't know. We'll see. Either way, that Cardinals team does not look too great. I have a little bit more faith in the Falcons, not by much. So we're going to tentatively choose the Falcons, and I don't know. This could be a tie. This is not a game that I want to pick. It's funny. There's all these close games. There's all these close records, and this is a game I'm like, I don't want to pick. Stay away from this game, but I'm staying away. The next game is Pittsburgh Steelers against the Detroit Lions. Both of these teams going into this game is 8-6. Both of these teams, kind of figuring it out which way their season is headed, which direction they're going as a team. The Lions are favored at home by 7. The over-under is 52. And yeah, I think that's right. I think out of these two teams, the Lions are better, and they're playing at home. So I'm giving this win to the Lions and not overthinking it. The next game is going to be the New England Patriots against the Baltimore Ravens. If you would have told me at the beginning of the season one of these teams would be 11-3 and the other would be 7-7, I would easily choose the Patriots to be 7-7 and the Ravens to be 11-3. But here we are, folks, in this topsy-turvy Jim Broadbent world. I don't even, is that the guy in Topsy Turvy? Write in, folks, if you're listening to this and you're a huge fan of Houston sports and, I guess, musicals, let me know. The line here is the Ravens -3 at home, over-unders 48. I think I have to go against this here, and I'm going to go with the Patriots. Obviously, the Ravens need this win. The Ravens have a lot of talent on this team, and they should. I feel like the old Paul would go with the Ravens here, but these Patriots scare me. I don't know why they're so good. I don't know why it makes me so frustrated. I don't know why I don't want to pick them, but here I am picking the New England Patriots yet again and shaking my head about it, wishing that I didn't have to. The next game here, San Francisco 49ers against the Indianapolis Colts. Both of these teams sporting records that I didn't think that they would have, based at least on how their season has kind of been. 10-4 for the 49ers and 8-6 for the Colts. And honestly, shout out to Old Man Rivers. I mean, Phil Rivers came in and competed with those Colts against a great Seattle team. We can make any old man joke we want, but I mean, look, I am closer in age to Phillip Rivers than I am to almost any starter in the NFL, and I'd like to think that I still have a lot to contribute to this world, and I'm not old or past my prime. So, I'll make my jokes, but still, happy to see Phillip Rivers go out there and compete, making old men everywhere proud. But I still don't know if he's going to get a win here. I mean, I could see him going out there and competing against this 49ers team the way he competed against the Seahawks, but I don't think that they can win. I'm going with the 49ers here for Monday Night Football. The Colts are +6 at home and 46.5 in the over-under, and Phillip Rivers is starting again. So I guess enjoy some more Old Man Rivers, but goodness, I can't believe those teams both have those records right now. It just feels like they would have kind of middling records, if anything else. But moving on, folks, let's check in with Sleeper, my Sleeper app, to see how I've done so far this season at Pigskin Pick'em. And folks, it's with much sadness that I tell you that I completely missed a week. And yeah, I did that by missing 2 half weeks. And look, one of them was for a baby shower. The other one was just, life stuff happening. And look, I own it. Instead of telling you guys what I would have won if I submitted my picks, I give you my record with me not setting those picks. So I have 135 wins on the season in the app. I have more if you count the wins that I actually said on the podcast, but I didn't set them. So just like you guys, you just have to take those L's sometimes. But I had 13 wins last week, winning my week with 3 dogs, with choosing the Chargers, the Commanders, and the Broncos. But I'm kind of burying the lead again a bit. While we should be checking in, or while we're checking in with me and how I've done, we should be checking in with Sarah, my fiance, and how she's doing, because she's in the sole possession of the number 1 spot in our league on Sleeper. There is a lot of season left for sure, but she's killing it with 148 wins on the season. So I'm just asking y'all, are you more like me, or are you like Sarah with your picks this season? Who are you in your relationship? Or are you both? Sarah's done fairly well. She also has a work league. She's actually in 2 Pigskin Pick'em leagues this season, and she's doing fantastic. Let me know how you're doing. 135. I'm ashamed. I haven't had that good of a season, but that's why it's a comedy podcast. And when it comes to fantasy, look, there's a reason why I haven't been talking about it much on the podcast. I'm on the outside looking in of the playoffs, and it's just been a rough, confounding season. I went 5-9 with a lot of bad luck in matchups. I scored a lot of points, but not enough to win some games, and not even enough that's like it's impressive. And I'm bringing it up as a stat to like showcase how good of a season I had. I had a tough season, but usually these tough seasons still I eke into the playoffs and find a way. I just never found a way this season, and it's tough. I feel like it's the first season in like 10 years where I'm not in the playoffs in my league. And some seasons I'd play 2 leagues. I don't know. I guess it's because I come on here and try to brag. But pour one out for my fantasy season. I don't know. Can I blame pregnancy brain? Sarah's pregnant. Can I blame pregnancy brain for why I have been like this? I'll be searching my whole life for excuses for this year. But I don't know. I don't want to blame 9/11, but it certainly didn't help. I'll be back stronger. And now, I'll have a kid next season. So I'll have a kid to impress. So I'm calling it now and saying that I'm going on another decade-long tear when it comes to fantasy football success. Bookmark it, save the receipts. For all the people in my fantasy league that got to talk some ish on me this season, know that it won't last long. Bookmark it. I'm saying I'm having another decade of fantasy football success. DEDUCE that. As we're wrapping up the podcast, the Rockets are heading to the trade deadline. They're playing the New Orleans Pelicans tonight, who are 5-22. Head coach Ime Udoka was fined $25,000 for comments on the refs. I didn't get fined anything, so I guess I should just be more inflammatory. But no, I do think going into the trade deadline, a lot of people are talking about trades. Who's going to improve this team and who should the Rockets trade for? A lot of people are looking for perhaps a point guard answer because, now more than ever, we're missing Fred VanVleet. We're missing his playmaking. We're missing his point guard kind of court general skills. And we're missing him in crunch time when offense is still stalling like it did last season. I've been on the podcast saying that I think this is some growing pains. I think they're trying to figure out ways to make KD a facilitator so that he's not depended upon to close these games out so much during the regular season, and you save him from the playoffs. But also that is a hopeful mentality. Let me know what you think about the Rockets in crunch time lately. But when it comes to the trade deadline, I am going to hit you with the Galmate. I really think we all need to calm down when it comes to the trade. We're going to blow this team up for TJ McConnell. Who's out there? Who's out there at a price that the Rockets actually can afford and can trade for without going over that cap threshold that they don't want to go over? Like if it was a video game, sure, just bring somebody else in, trade for Fred VanVleet away and bring somebody else in. But I don't know who their trade partner could be. I don't know what type of point guard they could potentially get back, and I don't know what the asking price is. So with all that being said, I'm saying I'm saying let's stand pat. I don't know, but maybe I think it's a little short-sighted to send a lot of players or picks away for a guy like TJ McConnell, but maybe I am wrong. Maybe that's just the last missing piece, and they're going to be championship contenders with just TJ McConnell. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. But maybe also, are we championship or bust? I don't think we are, but maybe my expectations are off. I watch all of the games. I talk about, I'm a super fan, but I watch all of the games. I listen to so many podcasts. And a certain Texans podcaster who shan't be named has been complaining all season long. And, even now that they've been streaking, and he's been struggling to find things to complain about lately, but he still finds a way. But lately, he said something on a podcast that he said, this season would be a bust if the Texans didn't go to the Super Bowl. And I was like, that's nuts. But also, if that's what he has been expecting, then that explains why he's been so angry all year long, so critical. This man thought that the Texans were championship or Super Bowl or bust teams. And I think maybe there's like 2 teams a season that can somewhat realistically have that goal. But it's still kind of a delusional goal for any fan base, especially the Texans, who were bounced from the playoffs so quickly last season. I say enjoy your teams, fan, but don't set them up for failure, with these delusional goals just so that you can be angry all year long. Imagine doing that with your wife or your partner or your children. You'd be mad all the time if you expected perfection out of people. And if you are mad all the time, maybe you're doing this. Maybe this is some relationship advice from you, for you. Maybe you should extend grace to people the way that you would like grace given to you. I expect the most out of people, sure, but everyone should be understanding of my expectation, my situation, and not expect the most out of me. That's because I'm different. Look, that was sarcasm. /S for those of you who don't know any better. Look. I'm just saying, I think having reasonable expectations is where it's at. I think this is not a championship or bust season for the Rockets. I think this is a playoff or bust season. And I think they can still get into the playoffs and make some noise with this roster. But maybe I'm the one being delusional. Let me know what you think. Let me know what type of a fan you are. If you're every season's World Series or Larry O'Brien trophy or bust, and how miserable you must be with those expectations. Let me know. And with that being said, that's going to do it for this transmission, Space Cadets. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Please, as they say, like, rate, review, subscribe, share, bop it, kick it, skip it, smash all of those buttons for me. We are a small podcast and only go as far as our listenership takes us. We're supported by listeners like you, so please share with the Houston fan or Australian in your life and give us a 5-star rating on whatever platform you listen to this podcast on. Please let me know what you're thinking. Are you thinking it's delusional to have those expectations be really high? Or do you think I'm delusional for having some hope? Let me know on social media. Reach out at Space Cadet Sports. Or you could even call into the podcast by leaving a voicemail on SpeakPipe. That's speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports. Or, of course, you could be my subscribe to the Substack. You can go there, leave comments on the blog and on podcasts there, and you can subscribe to support. And look, 99% of the content is free. It's not behind a paywall. You subscribe and you get all of that content emailed to you directly or pushed to your app by notifications if you want to go that route. And you can be a premium subscriber and help us pay the bills around here. And look, that's, like I said, most of this content is not behind a paywall, but being a premium subscriber is a low fee. I keep it super low, so it's just a way to support the podcast, help us pay for equipment, help us pay for bandwidth, and help us pay for treats for co-producer Carla. Look, if you want to help support the podcast and you don't want to be a premium subscriber for whatever reason, well, folks, I got merch for you. That's right, merch is here. You can get Don't Sleep on Houston basketball shirts. You can get Carla the Dog hats in H-Town Blue. And you can find that on my website. That's paulsalazarjr.net, because I'm nothing but net. Folks, if you made it to this part of the podcast, you must like me on some kind of level. You can find me making jokes, memes, art, podcasts, and so much weird stuff at Paul Salazar Jr. on social media, all social media platforms. And you can find my other Substack and all my other nonsense on my website. That's paulsalazarjr.net. You can find all my nonsense there if you're nasty. Thanks so much for listening. Remember to be the best that you can be. Keep your head up, kid. And as always, vamos, vamos, Houston.